The Toronto Raptors face the new season with expectations, but the truth is that, although the project could be considered a bit stagnant, the team has the tools to finally make the step to the elite of the East. Since the departure of Kawhi Leonard in 2019, the Canadian franchise has struggled to compete at the highest level. But their continued commitment to young players could pay off at any time. One of the biggest chances the Raptors are gonna have to adjust for the next season is their head coach. Nick Nurse has been signed by the Philadelphia 76ers, and Darko Rajakovic will take his place on a team that offers plenty of versatility to suit the needs of the Serbian, who spent the last season as an assistant with the Memphis Grizzlies. The experience Darko has had at Tennessee will certainly help him, as both Memphis and Toronto are two teams that possess a lot of athleticism and youth. But if one thing is certain, it's that Toronto has missed the playoffs for 2 of the last 3 seasons, and the team needs to step up to get back to the position to compete with the best teams in the Eastern Conference. However, some of their current pieces have shown enough potential to elevate the franchise to the next level. Pascal Siakam will continue to be the team's first offensive reference, at least for the beginning of the season. It's true that his name has sounded in numerous trade rumors this summer, but it seems that the Raptors want to try and get back to success with the Cameroonian player. Last season, Siakam managed to be selected in the All-Star game for the second time in his career, with averages of 24.2 points, 7.8 rebounds, and 5.8 assists per game, which logically has aroused the interest of other teams. His front-court partner will almost certainly be Jakob Poeltl. The Austrian center was traded to Toronto last season from San Antonio, and his performance during the 26 games he played with the Canadian franchise was almost unbeatable. Poeltl averaged 13.1 points and 9.1 rebounds with a spectacular 65% shooting from the field in 2023. A center who can score but is also very valuable when it comes to defending the paint thanks to his intelligence and great size at 7'1". Although Siakam is a player who is capable of playing point forward, the departure of Fred VanVleet to Houston during this free agency has meant the departure of a fundamental piece during the last years of the franchise. However, the now World Cup medalist Dennis Schroeder will be his replacement to try to turn the Raptors back into a winning team. As we have already seen in the video about the German, Schroeder is a very dangerous player when you allow him to run the offense. After his good performance in Los Angeles being a key player during the past playoffs, both on offense and defense, the German point guard is going to have many opportunities to have the ball in his hands, in a very different role than the one we saw him in the Lakers. And a player completely opposite of Schroeder will be his backcourt partner. OG Anunoby has been one of the most desired pieces by all GMs this summer. A very versatile defensive profile that continues to improve year after year offensively. Anunoby shoots above average from 3-point range and led the NBA in steals last season with 1.9 per game. With a 7'3" wingspan, he is a vital piece for any coach heading into the playoff series. Precisely the last piece of that starting 5 will be Scottie Barnes, a player who surprised so much during his rookie season that his sophomore season has been somewhat disappointing. The player has regressed in some aspects of his game, such as efficiency. However, one thing that he has undoubtedly improved on in this past season has been his playmaking ability. At 6'9", Scottie has been able to play point forward minutes as well as Siakam, and that is certainly a high-valued skill among such young players. Another versatile wing both offensively and defensively. This starting 5 is probably one of the best defensively in the entire conference. Very fast players with great size who are able to switch on any screen, and who have the size to cover several positions. This aspect makes them a very strong team against specific opponents who rely their offense on ball movement and disrupting the opposing defense, such as the Miami Heat or Boston Celtics. However, Rajakovic is a coach who specializes in offense, and like former coach Nick Nurse, has great creativity on this side of the court. With the presence of 3 ball handlers in the starting 5 alone, it is to be expected that the offensive options will be very varied. But the bench that the Serbian coach will have at his disposal will also be of a high level compared to other teams in the conference. In addition, the offensive depth available to many of the players in the rotation will complement the great defensive potential of the starting 5. Gary Trent Jr. will start his third season in Canada, having already been a very important piece for the Raptors. Having been a starter for most of his time with the team, the Duke player is a reliable scorer with good defensive capabilities, although certainly somewhat one-dimensional in his game. But the truth is that his role fits perfectly with the rest of the players in the starting five that he has already been a part of. So having a player of his quality as a sixth man is a luxury that very few coaches can afford. Trent averaged 17.4 points per game in 34 minutes of play last season. On paper, Toronto has a problem at the backup point guard position. Washington State's Malachi Flynn has been part of the team's rotation for the past few seasons, albeit more in a third point guard role. Still, his recent performance has been down from previous seasons. However, Scotty Barnes can be expected to assume this role in Schroeder's off minutes. Another important piece of snatching off the bench is expected to be Grady Dick, newly picked number 13 of this past draft. He can play both shooting guard and small forward with a good height of 6'8", but his greatest virtue is undoubtedly his outside shooting. Not only is he an excellent three-point shooter, having converted over 40% during last season at Kansas, but he's a big player capable of reading the game and making smart cuts to the rim. Many analysts believe he may struggle on defense, but his big size is promising if he improves mentally on this end. Canadian Chris Boucher will probably be in charge of playing during Siakam's bench minutes, another athletic and versatile wing on defense that can also produce offensively. Boucher has been used in many different ways by Nick Nurse since his arrival to the team in 2017, so he has shown the commitment and mentality to adapt to the team's needs. He is also a relatively efficient player who attempts a lot of shots from the paint. The big men rotation is completed with Precious Achiuwa. The Nigerian forward will play minutes at the center position despite being undersized for the five, but his speed and lateral quickness will make him a perfect center in certain matchups against smaller teams. The Raptors also have more quality players at the back end of the rotation. Garrett Temple, who joined the team this summer, will offer outside shooting ability and experience on a very young roster. Jalen McDaniels, meanwhile, offers defensive guarantees at the perimeter positions, having been part of the Philadelphia 76ers rotation during last season. Finally, Otto Porter Jr. is expected to return from the foot injury that sidelined him since last January. Another great outside shooter that will allow the Raptors to have a variety of options. Despite the bookmakers giving Toronto just under a 40% chance of making the playoffs, a big part of this season's success will come from Darko Rajakovic's ability to adapt to the team, because certainly the tools to achieve success are available. But it's a very strange group of players, which at the same time makes it special, and one in which versatility is the aspect that is most prevalent in both offense and defense. In a slightly weakened Eastern Conference, and in which last season's conference champion team came in from the play-in, the Raptors will have plenty of opportunities to surprise. What is certain is that they are clear candidates to fight for the last playoff spots in the East. And who knows if once there, they'll be able to surprise one of the teams in the conference thanks to their defensive potential. But this is a year that could mean all or nothing for Toronto in the face of a rebuild. Their star, Pascal Siakam, will be an unrestricted free agent in 2024. And if the Raptors fail to have a good season, this fact could lead to the departure of the Cameroonian during next summer. An added pressure that could backfire on the team, but could also see him make the leap to the next level.